Buckets, it's time for our story. Today we're going to read a story that I have loved ever since I was little. And something that I love about this story is that it does have a happy ending. But unfortunately, at the beginning of this book, A Chair for My Mother by Vera B. Williams, this little girl and her family lose everything they own in a fire. And they have to get a new apartment to live in. And the new apartment has some furniture, a rug, pots, dishes, and silverware. But it doesn't have a comfortable chair. And that's what they really, really want. So we're gonna read this book to find out how they get that chair. We're gonna learn that it happens with help from a lot of different people. And at the end, I'll ask you about how you help your family. So let's read together. A Chair for My Mother by Vera B. Williams. Chair for My Mother. My mother works as a waitress in the Blue Tile Diner. And after school sometimes I go to meet her there. Then her boss, Josephine, gives me a job too. I wash all the salts and peppers and fill the ketchups. One time I peeled all the onions for the onion soup. When I finish, Josephine says, "Good work, honey," and pays me. And every time I put half of my money into the jar. It takes a long time to fill a jar this big. Every day when my mother comes home from work, I take down the jar. My mama empties all her change from tips out of her purse for me to count. Then we put all the coins into the jar. Sometimes my mama is laughing when she comes home from work. Sometimes she's so tired she falls asleep while I count the money out into piles. Some days she has lots of tips, and some days she only has a little. Then she looks worried. But each evening, every single shiny coin goes into the jar. We sit in the kitchen to count the tips. Usually, Grandma sits with us too. And while we count, she likes to hum. Often, she has money in her old leather wallet for us. Whenever she gets a good bargain on tomatoes or bananas or something she buys, she puts by the savings and they go into the jar. So they're putting their savings into this jar. And I wonder what they're saving up for. I wonder what they're putting the money in there for. I bet something really special. When we can't get a single other coin into the jar, we're gonna take out all the money and go buy a chair. Yes, a chair. A wonderful, beautiful, fat, soft armchair. We will get one covered in velvet with roses all over it. We are going to get the best chair in the whole world. So Rosa wants a chair covered in velvet with roses. I wonder if she had a chair like that and her family lost it in the fire. That's because our old chairs burned up. There was a big fire in our other house and all our chairs burned. So did our sofa and so did everything else. That wasn't such a long time ago. I wonder how Rosa felt when she saw her house on fire. Maybe she felt scared and worried about what would happen to her and her family. My mother and I were coming home from buying new shoes. I had new sandals. She had new pumps. We were walking to our house from the bus, and we were looking at everyone's tulips. She was saying she liked the red tulips, and I was saying I liked the yellow ones. Then we came to our block. Right outside our house stood two big fire engines. I could see lots of smoke. Tall orange flames came out of the roof. All the neighbors stood in a bunch across the street. Mama grabbed my hand and we ran. My Uncle Sandy saw us and ran to us. And Mommy yelled, "Where's Mother?" I yelled, "Where's my grandma?" My Aunt Ida waved and shouted, "She's here, she's here. She's okay, don't worry." And Grandma was all right. Our cat was safe too, though it took a while to find her. But everything else in our whole house was spoiled. Everything else got ruined. What was left of the house was turned to charcoal and ashes. We went to stay with my mother's sister, Aunt Ida, and Uncle Sandy. Then we were able to move into the apartment downstairs. We painted the walls yellow. The floors were all shiny, but the rooms were very empty. The first day we moved in, the neighbors brought pizza and cake and ice cream, and they brought a lot of other things too. The family across the street brought a table and 3 kitchen chairs. The very old man next door gave us a bed from when his children were little. My other grandpa brought his beautiful rug. My mother's other sister, Sally, had made us red and white curtains, and Mama's boss, Josephine, brought pots and pans, silverware, and dishes. My cousin brought me her own stuffed bear. Everyone clapped when my grandma made a speech. You are all the kindest people, and we thank you very, very much. It's lucky we're young and we can start all over. That was last year, but we still have no sofa and no big chairs. When Mama comes home, her feet hurt. There is no good place for me to take a load off my feet. There's no good place for her Mama to sit down and put her feet up. She says, when Grandma wants to sit back and hum and cut up potatoes, she has to get as comfortable as she can on a hard kitchen chair. So that's how come Mama brought home the biggest jar she could find at the diner, and all the coins started to go into the jar. Now the jar is too heavy for me to lift down, and Uncle Sandy gave me a quarter. He had to boost me up so I could put it in. After supper, Mama and Grandma and I stood in front of the jar. Well, I never would have believed it, but I guess it's full, Mama said. My mother brought home little paper wrappers for the nickels and the dimes and the quarters, and I counted them all out and wrapped them all up. On my mother's day off, we took all the coins to the bank. The bank exchanged them for $10 bills. Then we took the bus downtown to shop for our chair. We shopped through 4 furniture stores. We tried out big chairs and smaller ones, high chairs and low chairs, soft chairs and harder ones. Grandma said she felt like Goldilocks and the 3 bears trying out all the chairs. Finally, we found the chair we were all dreaming of, and the money in the jar was enough to pay for it. Look. We called Aunt Ida and Uncle Sandy. They came right down in their pickup truck to drive the chair home for us. They knew we couldn't wait for it to be delivered. See their chair? I tried out the chair in the back of the truck. Mama wouldn't let me sit there while we drove, but they let me sit in it while they carried it up to the door. We set the chair right beside the window with the red and white curtains. Grandma and Mama and I all sat in it while Aunt Ida took our picture. Now Grandma sits in it and talks with people going by in the daytime. Mama sits down and watches the news on TV when she comes home from her job. And after supper, I sit with her, and she can reach right up and turn out the light if I fall asleep in her lap. And there's their picture. So I think Rosa feels really good about how she helped her family save up money to buy the best chair in the whole world. And she helps her family save money by working at the diner and saving some of the money that she gets into her jar. So now I want to ask you, how do you help your family? Especially because we're home so much these days, I'm sure that you have new jobs around the house. So take a moment, think of the ways that you help your family around the house. Once you know your answer, you can tell someone who's watching with you. You can write your answer down on paper, Or you can even whisper it into your hand. I help my family, bye. Take those whispers and you can throw them to me. All right, Rockets, thanks for tuning in to watch another story. This was A Chair for My Mother by Vera B. Williams. We'll read some more books next week. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week and weekend. I'll see you soon. Bye, Rockets.